All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. So, Rolling Stone magazine is successfully making Eric Clapton into the worst person in human history. There's a thread on Twitter. Originally, there was an article that I guess was written, and then, of course, there were subsequent posts that went along with this, saying that he's spouting nonsense about the thing, and he's bankrolling the protesters. He's bankrolling the people who believe the thing is bad. Rolling Stone used to kind of be a magazine that was counter-cultural. They used to be a magazine that didn't serve the establishment and serve people who truly, a lot of this has to do with Clapton's views on certain topics from years ago. And what they're doing in the article basically is they're outing every moment that Clapton allegedly said something, and they're highlighting it. Now, they didn't start really doing this until Clapton had the reaction to the thing and told people, I don't know if I can recommend this to people. And I've watched Clapton talk about this. There's a whole little documentary out there, courtesy of Odyssey Films. And Clapton isn't, he basically says, I know I'm going to lose fans. I know people are going to hate me when I say this. The thread over on Twitter, of course, is evil. It's evil because now people are saying, I used to like Clapton. Now I'm going to throw away my Clapton albums and my books and whatever else that I consumed that Eric Clapton was involved in. So essentially, Eric Clapton is being canceled, and it's not surprising. I'm waiting for them to do the same to Van Morrison in a more aggressive way. But Clapton is an easier target because he said some misguided and unfortunate things back in the 70s, apparently back in the 60s. People are saying that, hey, Eric was never afraid to inject other things into his bloodstream. Keep in mind, folks, Eric Clapton's son fell out of a window, all right, and died a horrific and life-changing death. No sympathy for Eric Clapton, though, none. As a parent myself, these people are despicable, okay? And here's the other little part to this, is that no amount of groveling, no amount of repenting, no amount of apologizing appeases these people. Because once they've got you as their target, because this guy, they can't not say he's a great guitarist. They can't not say that. But now they're saying, oh, he was just envious of Jimi Hendrix, and he never could play like Hendrix, so he said all these derogatory things about Hendrix and supposedly some slurs. They're using the word slurs a lot, and the funny thing is this whole backstory is now coming to life. And now if Clapton had gone along and played the game, I guarantee you they would have left him alone. This is like doxing. It's like looking at every aspect of your life. It's funny though, when they do undercover videos with these executives from these companies who basically mock the people and say, oh, we're doing this for money. We're promoting this for money. Your innate ability to handle this problem is better, way better, and lasts longer than the crap that we're promoting. Now, they're blaming, Clapton's playing issues on his past indulgences in substances. All right, that's the reason. First of all, he's 76 years old. And he doesn't have to do any of this, but supposedly the narrative is throughout this entire article and thread of just horribleness. It's almost like some of these people are demon possessed. I'm just going to be honest at this point. I don't know what it is. It's almost like they're demon possessed. Like there's something going on in their brain. It's a tripwire that, okay, you don't want to join our cult. And again, I use the restaurant analogy. It's a tortured analogy, but anything in life where you have a bad reaction to something, or you have bad service, or the thing you didn't live up to its expectations, and then now it doesn't perform as advertised originally, which is true, no matter how you want to slice that, because the goalposts keep moving. Like I said, they're in the parking lot, they're down the road. Clapton basically wanted to tell his story. He did. He knew what the consequences would be. He's got nothing to gain by this. He's saying, they're saying, oh, he's bankrolling. Like all these people are what? Like, I'm going to buy all of this music because I wouldn't have. Well, some of these people might need someone to agree with, because apparently most of popular culture and music, as I've documented on my little upstart channel, okay, which nobody cares about because nobody covers anything I say, which is fine. I don't have any bitterness, and I'm not acting in a way that's passive aggressive. It's just funny because occasionally I do have somebody on who says something interesting, but yet nobody really reports it or cares about it. And that's fine. I've got my own little kingdom here, you know, and it's just really weird and ironic that a publication that used to basically tell people to stick it to the man is now the man, is part of the establishment. And it's over and over again throughout. Look, you may have started as some kind of hippie back in the 60s, right? And you didn't buy into what the government was telling you with regards to the Vietnam War. There's this little thing they did called the Tuskegee experiment. I mean, look it up. There's all the, was it the Gulf of Tonkin or something like that? Look that up. There are all kinds of things that our government has done that should cause skepticism, even if it's just a small percentage of people, right? And I'm talking about in the media where, you know, if you print something, people might read it and go, oh, wow, maybe I should look into this. Maybe I should be aware that maybe they don't have my best interests at heart. All Eric Clapton did was tell the story. And look, I'm not defending Clapton's prior statements in the 70s, but it's so funny. He's got a history of being this evil person. Okay, can someone explain to me how Nathan East is still working with Eric Clapton and played on his latest song? Nathan East, one of the best bass players ever in the entire planet, right? He's playing bass. His skin is kind of a dark color if you haven't noticed. All right, is he just blind and oblivious, or does he look at Eric Clapton right now and say, I know Eric Clapton. You know, he may have said some stupid crap in the past. Here's another example and a quick little comparison, right? So you had a presidential candidate in 2016. She ran for president and she lost. One of her mentors was a guy by the name of Robert Byrd. Robert Byrd, who is some kind of like a grand cyclops, whatever. I don't even know what that is, but I guess there's a hierarchy in that particular organization. And it's 3 letters in a row, the same letter prior to the letter L. I think I'm trying to figure out my alphabet here. All right. So he was a known part of that organization. Right. But you had a presidential candidate who ran in 2016. And if you want to use the whole guilt by association thing, right? All of these organizations now who are bashing Eric Clapton, they're using the Clapton standard of things that he said. This guy was in charge of, again, he was in Robert Byrd. And I guess it's no big deal. And did that presidential candidate in 2016 repent? Did she say anything about her association with Robert Byrd? And by the way, there were a bunch of other people in government, and they had a D in front of their name, mostly a D, right, who really looked up to this guy. He was a mentor. He was a champion of civil rights. Seriously? Seriously? So it's opposite day again. So again, here I am, not defending anything that Clapton said in the past, but just thinking to myself, man, if you want to destroy someone because they don't walk in lockstep with your ideology, the media is a powerful entity. It's powerful. And these people are sharp. They use the most cutting words, the most desperate language. It's easy. You sit behind your keyboard and you think of creative ways to destroy another human being. And I hate it. So it's why my presence, my footprint on social media is minimal. And it's because people will come after you personally and they'll keep taunting you. And yeah, you can block and certain things that you can do, but it never stops. It's like it's whack-a-mole. You whack one anthill and another one just pops up, and the red ants, they start crawling right up your ankle. I don't want that. Most people I know don't want that. But we're living in a world where, look, Clapton, his ranking will fall probably out of the top 100. It'll say something like, yeah, he had a couple of good moments, Eric Clapton. That Yardbirds thing was all right. Cream, that was okay. Derek of the Dominoes, that's all right. And that solo career, that's whatever, And then later on in life, though, he became senile and foolish, and that tarnished his entire life. And some of the things he said, even though he apologized, but we're not going to talk about his apologies because he went too far. And there's no coming back. And there's no amount of apology because we know it's in his head, because we're living in there rent free. Because that's what happens. Because then you start listening to all these experts. If I hear one more time medical experts, right? Pundits, people who think they know. And it's all about this. It's all about this. Why solve the problem, right? Why solve the problem if you can continue that problem and make lots of money in advertising? So wonder if Rolling Stone, wonder if they have any advertising, some pharma advertising on their pages, right? Wonder. My guess is most likely, right? But even if that's not true, perpetuating this crisis only makes the fearmongers more money in the end. And anyone who takes a different view gets in the way of that. And remember, Rolling Stone, this was the magazine that was countercultural. Now they're walking in lockstep with a fallen culture that's getting darker and more difficult to figure out every single day. So again, and it's not about, by the way, it's not about the music, because nobody's out there saying, well, Eric Clapton, he's just, he's a poor man's, I'm reading some of this stuff. He's a poor man's BB King, or he's a poor man's whoever, Muddy Waters. He wishes he could be Muddy Waters, right? And and the other argument is he took all of the music from these people and kind of incorporated it into his own thing, but so did half the British invasion. So, and most American musicians were doing this. So that charge is a frivolous charge. It's like saying, well, you were breathing oxygen during the 1960s. How dare you? By osmosis. You were bringing in all of this music that you had no business doing. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, I agree. A lot of these old time musicians from like the 1950s, African-American musicians who invented rock and roll, basically the blues and rock and roll, they invented it. They should get more credit. Absolutely. But I think none of these people are guilty of plagiarism to the point where they're no longer relevant. Like they didn't take and make their own style, or they couldn't play guitar proficiently enough to distinguish themselves from the person who they were supposedly plagiarizing. Anyway, I could go on about this. I think it's just gratuitous at this point. You're just piling on this guy who is supposedly now bankrolling all of these people who don't agree, who are skeptics, who need anyone to cling to in pop culture. And Clapton isn't in pop culture. He's old school culture. And a lot of people who've been around, who've seen some things, including things like the Vietnam War and other things that the government has said, yes, just do this, trust us. And now it's all about trusting, the people the shadowy people that you can't even see, or there's nothing you can do about these people. I'm learning that, you pass a law and then the attorney general says, nope, sorry, we're not going to let that particular state, that jurisdiction enforce that law, even though the people voted for it, right? So we're in some dangerous waters, and I don't know when we get out. I have no idea. It's going to be this uprising, and then the uprising is all going to be criticized as a bunch of lunatics and fringe people and anti-science people and all of this BS, which at the end of it all, it could result in some kinetic conflict of some kind. I just don't see it going away, because the funny thing is, once you think you've got a victory, they snatch it and they say, no, this authority is above what you just did democratically. And that scares me a lot. That scares me. I'm thinking, where are we going to go? Where can people go to escape this? I don't want to live under that. And all I'm doing here is addressing what Eric Clapton did and said. And again, nobody here is making excuses for Clapton's past, but there's no way to repent with these people. There's no way to say, well, yeah, I said a bunch of stupid things, but I don't believe that stuff. I don't think that way. And that's the end of it. I mean, people say stupid stuff every single day. Many of them are television, TV anchors, TV pundits that say stupid things, and they have no idea what they're talking about. And look, if Rolling Stone is just a political outlet and they just do political stuff, I mean, why read it if you're a music fan? Because all you're going to get is propaganda. You're going to get what they want you to think. And if you don't think that way, if you try switching and going to a different music publication, you're going to get the same worldview. And it's over and over and over. And so their message to you would be, well, see, that's what the normal people believe. No, that's not what that's what the brainwashed believe. That's what people who've been gaslit for 18 months plus now, that's what they think, because it's the power of this stuff, whether it's social media or old media or whatever, print media, which is not really print. It's not, nobody's buying magazines anymore. What they're doing essentially is going online, paying like $1 or $2 a month or whatever, so they can read these cutting edge articles that you're paying to be brainwashed. You're paying to get the best fix when it comes to hearing the thing that you want to hear. It's an echo chamber, and I don't know, you need to get out of that echo chamber. We need to create our own ecosystems and get away from this stuff, because psychologically, forget about the floating blob from outer space, right? With the tentacles and the sharp pointy things. Forget about that. That's part of this. But the other part, the long-term damage that people will realize sooner than later, is the psychological damage to children, to adults, to everybody. I mean, they can't hire people. Like the jobs thing was, I mean, this is beyond what I lived through when Jimmy Carter was the president. It just is. And I remember that. My dad had to switch the plates on the car in order for us to buy gasoline. That's how bad things were. And the gas lines were blocks and blocks and blocks. Is that where we're headed? I don't know. I mean, it would be nice if people wanted to achieve and be normal and to mind their own business and to live and let live, right? And I know I'm going way off the tangent here, way off the track. It's a tangent, not way off the tangent, but I misspoke. So anyway, where does this all lead us to? It leads us to balkanization, tribal warfare. Most of it's going to be just, sort of stealthy, but again, there could be a kinetic problem down the road. And if people don't see that, because people get frustrated to the point where they're like, okay, I have no recourse. Courts don't work. I don't know if, the ballot that I put in the machine, I don't, who knows? I don't know. Just saying, just you can believe what you want to believe about all that. And it's not that I want things back the way they were last year, but that was better than what things are like this year. Way better. Okay. Unquestionably better. So again, you go by results, but people don't, they ignore results. Just like, supposedly all of those Southwest air flights, right, are being canceled. Southwest Air, they're all being canceled because of weather problems. That's, yeah. So that was the biggest whopper I think I've heard during this entire thing. Check out what's going on with Southwest Airlines. Just, I don't know how I got to Southwest. Eric Clapton to Southwest. I don't know. But anyway, Rolling Stone magazine, they're the tip of the spear when it comes to defeating common sense.